Before we hop in, Pastor Kevin just told you, campus pastor told you, we've been on a journey called because of the gospel, because Jesus has changed our life, because God's favor's been on our church, because our community's rapidly growing. And I could keep saying because, but I've said it a lot the last 8 weeks, so I'm going to stop right there. Because of all this, we're taking a step forward in generosity. We're taking a step forward in vision. For well over a year, we've been at this, 18 months. As a church leadership, elder board, myself, our team, praying, believing, purchasing the land. We've outgrown our space. All that to say, our goal has always been 100% engagement. We want to invite all of the church to be a part of it, not just a few. We were inviting everybody. Nobody's obligated, but we're inviting everybody to go on this journey with us. Here's what Psalm 127 says. Unless the Lord builds the house, those who build it labor in vain. And so we've said that the generosity of God's people and the future of the expansion of God's kingdom have always gone hand in hand, right? And so many of you have been encouraged in telling me stories on board, your personal stories of what God's done, of what God's taught you. Has been super, super encouraging. I've said it a few times, but the church is not a new idea. What we're doing is not new. It's Jesus' idea, right? It's just a question of will we be faithful in our time? And so you guys have showed up, God has showed out. But before I get to the totals to let you know, I'm going to make you wait for a second. In fact, I want you to hear, there's some stories I want you to get. I kind of gave a glimpse. I got our video guys to put a little glimpse of the last 6 or 8 weeks because it's been a big significant, really, because for us is the starting line, Oconee 211, South Venue, all of our campuses, is the starting line of a new season. Right? As we expand in all that God is doing, that's what because has been. So I want to give you a glimpse of the last 6, 8 weeks, some of my favorite moments, hear from some people who've made the choice to step up and follow Jesus in this season as the church takes a step forward. Guys, you can take it away. So we at the church stand at the crossroads between a broken world full of empty promises and the hope of the gospel. And we get to shine the light and build the next generation. We should be, Bethlehem Church, if you're a believer, we should be people full of vision and trust. In fact, to be full of faith, speaking of all of us, our dreams need to reach into the next generation, which means you need to think bigger than yourself. A biblical definition of success means we transfer the call to them. One generation will commend your work to the other, is what the psalmist says, right? Positioning them, our kids, the next generation, to run stronger and farther while we cheer them on.
We're excited to be a part of this and just the recognition that it's all God's anyway, and to have the privilege of being able to just steward back to Him what He's given to us. We're so excited to see what He's going to do through Bethlehem Church, because we're not giving to the church, we're giving through the church, and we're just expecting a miracle and just can't wait to see Him work.
I've seen so many things happen in the church of Bethlehem. Never dreamed we'd have this type attendance at this church, much less have 2 other branches. So we think God is really working in what's going on.
Yeah, this commitment's meant a lot to me and my family. My kids know nothing but Bethlehem Church. They've been coming here their whole lives, and just to see how the church is invested in family. We've been here 10, 11 years coming here now, so it's meant a lot to us.
There was a period in our time in our lives where we didn't tithe, and we saw that when we did, the needs that God meant for us, and just couldn't imagine not. And we're so excited to be a part of this commitment to see what the church does going forward.
We're excited to be a part of this, to be able to give what we can give to help grow, because like right now, we don't even have a set student ministry space. So with the new building, we'll have our own student ministry straight. So it's just going to be awesome to be a part of such a big growth and a big project, so we can reach more kids and more families in the community.
We're thankful for Bethlehem, what it's done in our lives. It has changed our lives. It's changed our families' lives, and we look forward to stepping forward and showing what God has done for us.
Over the years when we couldn't afford things and we still give, and he's just been a blessing and just showing the grace that he loves us so much. So now we get an opportunity to give back, that things that we can help other people, and that's what we truly like to do, is help other people, see other people grow.
In this season, it's really been a matter of letting go and actually trusting God with things in our relationship, in our lives, both financially and just with getting married soon, trying to find a place to live and resources for our wedding. And it's really amazing that when you just give it up to God, that He will provide for you.
Yeah, and for me, just knowing that it doesn't matter like what stage you're at in your life, you have to give Him what's His. So it doesn't matter like how much you make or what you're saving for, but whatever you give to Him is going to be like brought back to you tenfold, because you just have to put your trust in Him and just trust that He'll provide for you whatever way you need.
Once you see what God does, when you trust Him, you don't ever want to not be able to give. And so there was no question in our hearts and in our minds that we wanted to be obedient and just be a part of the next chapter.
We are excited about what God's doing here at Bethlehem Church and excited about the Because Initiative. And with what God's doing here on the Oconee campus, we are excited to be a part of this because of who this initiative is going to be reaching for generations to come.
Pretty cool, hey? Yeah. So I'm super thankful for you guys. I've said this on a few times, on a few occasions, but I've never led anything like this. So this is like me saying, relocating a campus, expanding across our campuses, just all that God's doing. It was a humbling thing for me, building new space from the ground up. And so, God over and over again kind of kept bringing to me, Jason, trust me and trust my people. Trust God, trust God's people. They're not Bethlehem Church's people, first and foremost. They're Jesus' people. We're all Jesus' people. So I'm proud because we live in a day, I don't know if you know this or not, we live in a time that is marked by cynicism. Did y'all know that? Didn't know if you knew that. Everybody's cynical. Everybody. Not you guys, but everybody else. So you start walking down this road in a culture that's marked by cynicism. There's a little bit of, man, I hope everybody's with me. And then there's a consumer mindset that dominates the church. Again, not you guys, and I mean that. What's in it for me? What's in it for me? And what is beautiful about Bethlehem Church is there's been a unity of spirit and a focus on mission that's blown me away. And you should be commended for that. So before I share the total, because I'm going to get to it in a second, before I share the total, let me tell you, because the whole project is about 100% of the church engaged. And you may not be yet. You're still invited to be a part of this with us in this season, right? You may not be yet, have signed on, but this is us. So let me celebrate, because many people did. 100% engagement meant if you've never given, that you begin to give. If the church would lead with generosity, everything we want to have happen would happen. So let me give you a couple numbers that will excite you. In this, what we have found, 317 households for the first time pledged to give and trust God in a new way. Isn't that cool, man? 317 households, right? That is 900 people. That's a big deal. And so I commend you. If you're like, yeah, man, it was time and we're ready and we're trusting God, that's a big, big deal. So thank you for that. Total involved across all of our campuses, 1,143 houses made a pledge that said you can count on it. That is more than 3,400 people. That's a movement. It's one church, many locations, one house, right, many rooms. Now, how many of you have your favorite book you've ever had right here? You still got it? Did you bring it with you? Oh, I'm kidding. I know you didn't. But in this, I marked out, let me give you some numbers that give context. I marked it was all in your book. But our general operating budget at Bethlehem Church, one church, many locations, across all of our locations, $7.5 million. That's all of our ministry, everything you know, all the buildings, all of our partnerships, all the ministry that we do, we have locked in. We live on a strict budget. We have locked into that. Everything you know is Bethlehem Church, right? That's what's included. It's all in here. Over 2 years, that's $15 million. Well, what we knew is to expand, if everybody would take a next step, we just believe, and we kind of put a number out there that would help us take this big step of 12. So our goal, which was a God-sized goal, was going, if everybody will take a step forward in this season, trusting God in a new and a fresh way, $27 million over 2 years would help us to do our expansion, right? Relocate, expand to other campuses. That's what it was because of all that God's done. And because of God's faithfulness and because of the generosity of God's people, I think we should celebrate because God showed up and you guys were faithful and our total commitments equaled the amount of 31.5. Pretty cool deal, man. It's a pretty big deal. Yeah, isn't that cool, man? So you guys should be commended. We thank God because we know it's all His. But you guys trust, you're taking a step forward, and at this time, we're being faithful to what God's called us to. So I want to say to you, thank you.